and we knew he was coming. She's like, you know, they're coming. The road was full, and they was chilled up to I mean, hammers, bars, then the glass, you know, all the glasses are going, the sky. But all I remember then is it was just a blackout bang. I just remember getting hit. I got hit with a fucking hammer and knocked all my teeth out there. Yeah, I thought my teeth had been knocked out. I was knocked out. I couldn't even tell you how long. But by the time I come round, the fight was still carrying on. A car had been turned over. The window, you know, the pub was blitzed. I started going to Man City at 7. First game I went was it was City v Tottenham, you know, one of the old rivals there. Yeah. The singing, the shouting, and just the togetherness. It was just like a surge that something come through me, like a rush. You like, whoa, you know, the hairs on your neck stood up. Yeah, it was just straight away. It was just hooked on the football.
I think you get sucked into it, don't you?
Definitely, yeah.
And I think like similar sort of working class background, and I said like talking to you, was like it's someone like yourself, especially that background you have. When you come from like the East End and like where you grew up as well,
I grew up in North Manchester, me, believe it or not, which is like the United side of town. You know, main road was sort
of
like,
say?
Exactly, yeah. So it was like they want a lot of blues where I grew up. So as soon as I felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere. Yeah. So as soon as I went to main road, I was like, I want that. You know, that's for me.
Yeah, yeah. The biggest game, I think it was like 67, West Ham playing Man United. Yeah. This is in 67, and George Best was playing, Dennis Law, Bob, you know, they were all there, Bobby Charlton, all of them. And then that's when I really sort of like, I looked around and I see like the crowd, like there were about 20,000 Man United, but they used to have a lot of London Reds.
Yeah,
the
Cotton Reds,
I remember the whole end, like thousands of Man United fans there. And that's when I first sort of felt that buzz, you know, looking around like youngster growing up and just the surge and everything else. And then obviously getting a bit older, by the time I was like 13, 14, just winning a fight. Yeah. Because you're just looking at the older lot, you know what I mean?
I remember like going to some of the derbies with Man United and I was excited. I couldn't eat, I felt sick, you know, with the excitement. And it was, that was it just took over your life.
Yeah. And then like first time going, I think, I was like Arsenal away, something like that. And we were all like kids, you know what I mean, like about 13, 14. But we thought, like, bolting down the road, we walked round. And there's like, we've gone, there was the Ivory, North Bank, and so we'd come out the corner, and there was these men there. Because like that 4 or 5 years difference, they're men. Yeah. And I'm looking and thought, like that, and they've chased us down the road, and there must have been 50, 60, all 40, you know, like that. Come like that, and just running down. And I thought, no, I've got to come back here one day and do this. Yeah. I've got to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
I remember watching a Manchester derby where United got in the City end, in the North Stand. They tried to set the North Stand, it was going off. And it was just like, me watching that, it was like, I want to be there. I want to be in that from a young age. Yeah. So obviously, there was only one way I was going to go when it started kicking off.
It becomes an obsession, doesn't it?
It was an obsession, yeah. That's exactly what it was, yeah.
I think football violence is a drug, but it is within your own circle. It's not people going out just to beat people up.
Yeah,
someone will pass.
Yeah.
They're going to give you someone the dig because he's got another shirt. That's it. No. It's
your lads,
the build up to, you know what I mean? Like,
I suppose it's just like sort of you're feeding your own sort of like adrenaline rush, aren't you? Yeah. You know, and I mean, we did go to support the club. We were saying, you know, you love West Ham, I love City. You know, it's that, you know, but just being like with the lads and you're there for their lads, you know. Whether like, you know, if it was say West Ham coming to Manchester or us coming down there, you know, that's your patch. You know what I mean? You've got to be out and you've got to.
You can protect it.
You feel like you're fighting on behalf of your team or behalf of your town.
Yeah, it's the battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was a big thing, wasn't it? It's just, I canof describe it unless you've actually experienced it and been part of it and been involved in it. Then you can only really understand it.
I think it's the sort of like the mix of emotions because you don't know what's going to happen, and you know it can come on top, you can get hurt. You know, there's that many people involved. Yeah. And it's always like, because you know we all get a bit fucking flight. You go, it's on top here, you know, and you're going for it, and it's just a buzzer. You know, you don't know, and you've got to stand your fucking ground. And you can think, you know, do your mates, easy mates.
Especially like you up north somewhere and you get. Like there's about 50, 60 of you, and you break away from the main lot, and you're stuck. And some are like Kansas State or some back row, all red bricks. Remember them alleys with all the red brick houses and all that like that?
Yeah.
And I remember we got caught round there somewhere and City come around the corner. It was Man City. We was all fighting in the street, just running across the and all the old Bill come past with the horses then. They come past and batter you like, and then grab hold of you and drag you down the road and all that. But it was like backs to the wall. Do you know what I mean?
That's it, yeah. And sometimes that's the best buzz.
Yeah, the best fights.
That's the best buzz. Like when you think, you know, you manage to get away or whatever. It's like a little victory, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think working class people, like, it's part of life to fight, isn't it? Yeah. To survive. You're like, whether you're at school, someone digs you out, or, you know, something happens, or as you're growing up, you're out, and someone calls it on. It's a fight, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
But I just think it's a different level. All the best fighters are at the front, because if any of them drop, you've got to hold that line, ain't you?
Of course, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And the ones who ain't like, they'll have a row, but they're not fighters, if you know what I mean.
I've always said
they need to see that.
Yeah. I've always said that, like, if you go over a firm, say if there was like in when we was going, it might have only been 50, but it was the 10 at the front. Yeah. It was down to the 10 at the front.
Yeah, the top boy,
because they're going to follow. You know, if you start backing off, they're going to go. You know, and sometimes it's just to look like there's more there. Yeah. But most of the time it was the first 10 at the front that do the fighting and that do the business. Like.
And as I said, like when sometimes you'd look at like, you see things in football like 200 geezers running 200 geezers. There really wouldn't be 200 geezers fighting 200 geezers.
No. It was just the first 10,
It'd be the fighters. Fighting the fighters, you know what I mean?
One where it was bad, it was a Manchester derby, played United. I don't think we've been. It was not long after we moved there now to the Etihad. Yeah. So we weren't like the team what we are now. We weren't really winning much. I think we was probably sort of like mid-table fighting relegation at the time. United was going for the league, and we knew it was going to go off. It always did on a derby day. We was fighting outside the ground all the way down to town, like, and it just chilled out for an hour or two. Everyone was having a pint. We all got the phone call to go to this boozer. And we knew he was coming. She's like, they can come in. There's about 50, 60 of us in the boozer. End of the season, nice and warm. Everyone's got the t-shirts on in the beer garden. And then the shout went up like, they're here. So we come out under this bridge. And like you say, when the road was full and there was tilled up to, hammers, bars, all sorts. And like it was just like, when you stuck a back, nearly run into each other. Then the glass, while the glasses are going, the sky. But all I remember then is it was just a blackout bang. I just remember getting it, and I got hit with a hammer and knocked all my teeth out there. I thought my teeth had been knocked out. I was knocked out. I couldn't even tell you how long. But by the time I come round, the fight was still carrying on. A car had been turned over. The window, the pub was blitzed. That's probably the worst violence scene. It went on for 15 minutes.
It's like a lifetime, isn't it?
A police riot van come and they had to get off. Do you know what I mean? It was that bad. There was a guy ended up in a coma as well. Like nearly lost his life. It was like pretty bad.
When we was going it was further away. Anyway, we got to Alban. We used to do the changing like in the underground to go to Euston. And there was our normal crowd. There was like about 50 of us. And we just had our little clique. I don't know why we was all standing on the platform and the central line that it come in. And it's in the film. And then the doors open, but we see Millwall. Yeah. Boys, how are you f***ing doing? But the whole f***ing train was Millwall. It was the whole firm, and there was like 50 of us. So, but we've gone into the middle carriage, we've all gone in one carriage fighting, and then it just went like windows, things, and they were like, there was these box things, and they were pulling bits of wood out, blades, and it just seemed like forever. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was on the floor, like the whole carriage, because it was about as long as this. Yeah. You think that, and it was just. They were coming and coming, just through the windows. The windows went through. They were smashing it with all the stuff, the glass everywhere, and it's just like fighting for my life, you know what I mean? Because I knew if I went down, I was. So I see, as soon as someone went down, it was like 6, 7 Millwall smashed together. So I don't know how I got out. I had a young one with me, but I've managed to knock the geezer, like, and I got onto the platform, like that, and then I took sort of like double takes. and then they're all. I could just see everyone laying on the deck. You know what I mean? I thought, "This is what I can do. I've got to go.
Yeah.
I'm f***ing gone here." I thought. So I just grabbed the kid and went, "Come on, you." And we've run up the platform, but they've chased us now because old one, you got goes off all over the place. Like, fucking, it seemed like I was running about half an hour, but they kept trying to get us and all that. And then we got up to another one of the levels, and we just jumped on the train. So I had this little, it was about 13 or 14, this 15, this young one and all that. And I went, you know, and I just thought, what about the others? All my pals, like that. And I got to Houston, and then the kids went to me. I went, "Oh, you know," we said, "That was close." He went, "I got a knife on me." I went, "That's a bit late now." You
was good.
Yeah.
You know.
But you could have said earlier. But anyway, so I got there, and then everyone come through. Battered. I mean, yeah. Me brother, he was stabbed up. He lost, I think, got stabbed in the spleen. Right. And that. But we still, still the thingy. Everyone was battered. We still got on the fucking train and went to Villa.
Still went to the game.
Yeah.
It's mad, innit? It's mad.
You know, like I was in my thing, like these little things. I said, "Have a look at my back." I said like that, and it was like it was a stiletto thing. I've been stabbed 4 times in the back. I mean, all day thinking. You know what?
Like I said.
Yeah.
I think I've been nicked probably about 10 times out of football. But I did get nicked. Got nicked for a violent disorder. I was looking, I thought, I'm going to get jail here. Right. And he said to me, looking at 5 years. A lot of our young lads have started to come through then. And back we played Barnsley in the Cup. They brought a load down. They've been on the phone. So a lot of the young lads was phoning me, said, you know, they're coming down, aren't they coming down? I'm like, don't know if they'll come out or whatever. So I go, "Fuck it, you know what, let's go out." Gone in the boozer, phone goes, said they're in such a bar now around the corner. So we've gone round, it's about 40 of them in there, 40, 50 of them in there. We've gone in, had a bit of a chat and said, "Right, you know, come on, we're having it like." He said, so anyway, one thing's been, he said to another, next thing is the pub's gone up, tables, chairs, pots, a lot. I've had something smashed in my eyes, my eye socket's been smashed in. We've ended up getting off, police have been phoned, glass everywhere. And then the next thing, we've headed to the ground. Next thing, vans have come, been spotted on CCTV, bang, 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 just all been rounded up, all lifted. And that, I thought, you know what, you can't do it, you can't do it these days. Cameras everywhere. There's about 30 of us in the dock. Even the lads from Barnsley that I was fighting with, they was in the dock with us. We was having a bit of a banter in the dock. Like, they'd come down and like, they had to split us so many. I think it was about 30 of us all together. So we was in the dock and like, I'm actually like, lads, like, they just looked down and said, "Fancy round 2 in a bit?" I was like, "What?" Just fancy round 2 in a bit. "Are you fucking mad, you?" So we was like, all having a laugh, and we had a laugh with him after it, do you know what I mean? Luckily enough, that case collapsed, so I got away with that one. But then, pretty much straight after, I got another banning order, 5-year banning order again. Yeah. And it was after that I thought, you know what?
I think it's like when Thatcher was trying to do the stamp down on the football violence, like, which is early 80s. Yeah, because and it just like, obviously the segregation, fences were going up, and then all the undercover stuff come in to try and take us out and all that.
So did you have any like, out West Ham, like an undercover operation?
Yeah.
You get to use it,
Someone tipped me off, right? About my name was seen in the police station. Like that. So I went down the pub and I just said to him, I went, "Listen," I said, "I've had a little tip off at the end of the season." I went, they was already going with West Ham, and then there was a little firm like blokes was started going to our boozer and going away games. No one knew who they were. People didn't even drink in there anyway, unless you knew each other. It was one of them ones, and I just like got this thing. I just said to them, I went, "They're on us. They're on us." Like I'd just done 10 years home and away. I must admit, it's about 4 games. I mean, religion, home and away, every game for 10 years solid. That was from 17 till I was about 27. And I thought, you know, I just tried to tell them. I thought, I've got missus, kids, and all that, and the fines now. People were doing bird and everything, and I was doing a bit of door work as well. And so I'm just thinking, like, trying to earn a few quid now. And then I thought, and I just said to them, I went, "Listen," I said, "it's on us," like that. I said, "I've had a little thing," and I can't say on camera how I got it, but I did. But no one'd have it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we had this house, like a load of us, we all split up our missuses, and we used to take birds around there and all that, and they had these rooms, and all of a sudden they fucking found out they was there, but I weren't there. My other mate was using my room with his bird, and they put the doors through and everything.
No.
They even knew that. They was following us, everything, and I just went on a little disappearing miss, and they couldn't find me, but it's about, I think about 20 of us, all the main ones.
Things was happening in my life, really, away from football, sort of like, you know, the drink and the drug culture sort of took a grip on me, and I was sort of like, I found myself in a bit of a bad way, you know what I mean, with the drink and the drugs, sort of like, I've got an addictive personality, so if I like something, I can't get enough of it, whether that's football, violence, you know, women, drinking drugs, it's like more, so, and that's how it was for me, so, in the end, it was like I wasn't even in a position to go fighting out of football. Do you know what I mean? I was just, I was like, well off the mark. Do you know what I mean?
I think pretty similar. I think like we were putting the missus through and having like sort of having a mortgage, and having kids and stuff and all that. We took a van and we went to Sunderland, but we left on the Friday late night, but like an old Bedford van, like, you know, with the old Luton van.
Yeah.
Had like 20 of us, because we thought, like, get out there. We had a few mattresses in the back, a few beers and all that in them days. So we drove up and get there early in the morning, do the little surprise one, do you know what I mean? Jump out the back of the van. But what we did, I think, on the way back, I think it was Doncaster.
Yeah.
We thought, like, we stopped off and have a few beers. It was Saturday night on the way back. But Man United had been in there, played or something. There's a lot of Man United fans there as well in Doncaster, apparently, different area. Surprise, yeah. So we're in the boozer. There's about 20 of us in the van. So we're standing there, just like, got one of the boozers. I think we'd had a couple of bits of banter, like, you know, like with the northern bits, you know, could have had a few beers and all that. And standing there, all of a sudden, the window went through. Thought, like, all the doors, everything was coming through. Man United and all the locals, they're all outside. There's like, we say that, 200 or 300 people, and there's 20 of us in the boozer. So the landlord's going, get them out, trying to push us out the doors, but they're trying to come in the doors. But the 20 of us were like mostly rowers who liked to row. But in the end, we just kept split up because you was getting pulled, dragged away. You didn't even know where to go. And I remember the last three of us, it was me, Mike Vinny, and one of us. Where's the money back to the van? And like, we ain't got who's got the keys to the fucking van? Right?
So we're fucked.
So got to the van, but it was just the old slide-up one, you know, the slide-up roller fisher thing. I went, try it. I mean, like, and they were going, I can hear them going, they're here somewhere. They were like looking for us, you know what I mean? So we slid up, we jumped in the back, but pulled the shutter down. So we pulled it down, be quiet. And it had like lip in it, so the three of us standing on it, and we could hear them going, shaking the van. They're in the van, is anyone in the van? So like that. And I just thought, like, we're standing on the three of us on this lip to stop the roller coming up. Like, don't say nothing like that. And they're all around the van like that. They're here somewhere, there's three of them. They must be over there. So I was going to, they'll have another roar. It's kicking off. I thought, it's the rest of us. So we jumped out. Like we jumped out like the Avengers. And then we just fighting again. And then we're all fighting there. Like, so everyone had headed back to the van. Like, I don't know, there might be about 50 of them now. Next thing you know, they put the windows through, and they smashed all the front windows, the side bits. So we had to get down the road to a service on the motorway, get on the first service station, get some plastic and just tape it up. Right. So we left Friday night, I got home Sunday. And this is the days before mobile phones. So I've just walked in, stunk, same clothes on, ripped to bits, big smoke. She went, where you been? She went, you ain't even phoned. I went, like, I couldn't. It was like, you ain't got, how'd you phone? I mean, I got to pull it up on the phone book. So I would stop fighting. I got to ring that woman. But yeah, and she's, I've been gone for 2 days. 2 days.
One time, I had my little boy with me. Well, he was a big lad now, but when he was little, I had my little boy staying with me. And I had a phone call to go out to the game, and, you know, I took him to a relative, so I said I'd be back in a couple of hours, and I didn't end up coming back. I ended up getting filled in, lifted, and he was there till the next day, you know, when I come in, I was battered and everything, and I seen him the next day, you know, he was upset, you know, crying. That lives with me. He don't remember that now, but he lives with you, you know what I mean? Watching him there thinking...
That's the point I'm trying to say.
That was one little regret.
That was the trying to thing is, when you get the kids and that, and your children, you walk in, when they're little babies, whatever, like, because you're younger, when you go into early 20s, that. But as you get older, you know, your kids are thinking, what the hell, Dad, you know, like, and then, like my boy, and if I take him, 20, I wouldn't want to see him fight.
No.
Your mentality changes, but it doesn't mean that you don't want to be that person or you've got any regrets for it, because at the end of the day, like, I loved every moment of it. And if I could, 60 years old, if I could ever go back and have that, my favourite span of my life, it would always be my 10 years on the terraces, fighting and doing what I did. Because I loved every moment of it. I loved the passion, the adrenaline, and it was the most addictive thing I've ever done in my life.
See, I can't really say, you know, I regret what I've done, because I just believe that was my path, you know.
Yeah.
I've learnt by my mistakes, you know, but if I didn't make them mistakes, I won't be the man who I am now.
I said that earlier, no?
Yeah. And that's I think that's part of life. With no matter what path you go down,
it's what makes you. It is what you are, you know. I think it's like a generation thing, like. Might be we've had 10 years at it, and then like then your age comes along, then you're 10 years, and I think you can't carry on like that for 20, 30 years.
No, you can't. And like you say, when you get to that certain point where you've done 10 years and you're one of the top boys and the old Bill know you're to the point where you can't, because you can't
go
move.
nowhere.
As soon as you're there, you've got a camera in your face.
They come out of the station and they know your name. I go up to Park, they pull me over, and I walk down. I've got like 4 old Bill walking behind me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, I followed walking to the ground. So you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, and I think like being with like your firm, your people, that's your adopted family, and having a great time and being top of the tree.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
You've
made memories, haven't you?
Yeah, the times and the way of life now, football is completely different. It's a whole different culture. The way it's run, the way it's processed. I think we had the start of it. You had the end of it.
Probably got the back end of it.
And the best years, but and those people are going to judge us and think you cut off just as nutters or whatever you think you are, but you can't describe it. You had to be part of it to understand it. And no one will ever, don't matter what we say to any audience, where 2 million people sit and watch this and go, wow, they get like 3/4 of them to go, I don't get that. What are they on about? But honestly, it's a thing. It's part of life. It's just as a man, it made me as a man. My mentality, you know what I mean?
There was a guy sitting on the train opposite with his wife and his 2 kids, and he had a Crystal Palace lapel badge, just a little badge on his jacket. The guy saw it, he leant across and he punched the bloke squarely in the face, and then hit him 3 more times, in front of his wife and his 2 kids.